So I'm using clickers for fast representation. What I'm going to do here, I'm going to press play. Then once I do that, you'll have 30 seconds to submit a response. And then you should see all the responses on the screen.
Hold on. Please dig it.
What is it? Can you go to channel 41? You're there. And what does it show? Oh, it's not. Right, now you got
So just a little comment. We are taking attendance subjectively because by clicking, we know that you're here. Unless you're going like this and clicking twice. And you didn't bring your clicker. You didn't bring your clicker. Don't look so distressed. You just tell Andrea you were here and we know. And I saw it. Okay. You too. Never happens in class that someone doesn't forget that clicker. I actually, when I teach, they now have these high-tech clickers. I don't have extras. But when I teach with my old-fashioned clickers, I bring like 5 with me. Because one runs out of battery, the other one, people forgot it. And so, no big deal. Okay?
Saying the battery on this now, is it the battery on the high?
The other one say this one's out.
I'm wondering if it's charging for like.
So answer 3. I spend up to 20 hours a week using the internet. Number, and there are a lot of responses like that. I don't know how many. 13.
Okay, next question.
Yeah, keep going.
It's been about 20 hours on the internet.
So these are answers for this question.
For the third, for slide 3.
3.
Yeah, so it would be about 20 hours.
I thought 3 was, I use very little the internet for answer 3.
Well, this would be A, B, C, 4.
About the same.
Yeah.
Answer 0 means what?
Nobody answered.
No answer?
Right. So everybody has their answer.
Let's see. Bad graphic, correct?
Yeah.
Does everyone interpret this as I I don't use the internet. A, B, C, D. That's not what it is. This is A, this is B, this is C. There is no D. Bad graphics.
So zero is J. Zero is J.
Oh,
That's
so like instead of ABC, that is like and apparently D and E doesn't work, right?
Hmm?
Yeah, answers D or E don't work.
Because you didn't set it up, I guess.
Or
I didn't set it up.
no, well, this is the default setup, so I have to go back and
Okay?
Okay, next question. Try.
Zero works.
Okay.
What is this? It's 5. Use or 5 is nothing.
I don't think you
I
tried
use
to
answer
check,
zero
yeah.
as to your radio.
Yeah.
That's what I did personally.
So what is this? No answer?
It's no answer.
No answer. So what? We lost D and E.
Yeah, yeah. I'll have to go back and
So maybe you wait and do more polling next time.
Yeah, okay.
Okay? Why are we doing this polling? Huh? Oh, that's the secondary objective. Actually, the main reason I have these questions, you will see the other ones are pedagogic, is basically to find out for you to start kind of getting some insight on your usage of the internet. And to have a 0 mark on how you feel about this. That's, attendance is secondary, tertiary. How do I get the? You have used it. How do I get my slides? Do you still remember the 32 observations out of Mary Beaker that we talked last time? What do you remember both of those? Anything that impressed you was totally uneventful and uninteresting? Yes, totally uneventful and uninteresting? I think we are going to put in that one. So what is, come on, tell me what you thought. Yeah.
Social media for interaction and how use the data being maybe visuals is the words and pictures, not just visual only words.
Okay, good. Good. So one thing that we know is that social media and big data is unstructured data. And it's kind of taking a heavier importance. Anything else you remember? Yeah.
Technology is kind of making its way into the accounting
the use of the XBRL, right?
XBRL, we still remember XBRL, good. What else? A couple of things I still hope you remember. Wendy.
Technology can be autonomous, but it can also have a contact with cyber attack.
Remember we talked about computer in a room with big walls and a guy with a machine gun in the door. It's pretty safe but pretty useless. The moment you start increasing its capabilities, what you're trying to, at the same time you're giving yourself a convenience, and at the other time you're actually creating yourself a liability. And the liabilities, the main liabilities come in the form of privacy and security. Now, we didn't talk about this last time, but I want you to think for a second about it. Is privacy and security the same thing? Why not, Amina? I saw Amina say no, so why not? Come on, be courageous, doesn't cost anything. You're in the right track, be courageous. Can anyone help? Go ahead.
Well, to me, security is what keeps private for the enterprise.
Good, good. So if you are not secure, can you have privacy? But if you are secure, can you not have privacy? Well, I think a few of you understand this. Okay, explanation. You have a system here. Okay, the system is limited. You have information in here. Okay, if the system is secure, you can control who gets the information. If it's insecure, anyone can get the information. Yes, no, maybe. Okay, so it's insecure. Anyone can get the information. So you can't have privacy. Now, if it's secure, can you have always privacy or there's a situation that there is no privacy?
I think these days there's two opposing schools of thought where a lack of privacy is actually kind of marketed as a form of security. I think you see that with like the NSA and when the iPhone thing with Apple and the San Bernardino massacre and all that stuff.
Okay, I think differently. Okay, but that wasn't what I was trying to say, that this company here has its rules of information dissemination. Even if it's secure, if their rules are lax, or they, for example, if this company goes bankrupt, or someone buys this company, that information will go to another company without your protection. Or they basically give information away for no reason. Okay, so if you don't have a good firewall, you're not really controlled. Okay, there is no way to keep privacy because someone can go in and take the information. However, if it's reasonably secure, people only take information if this particular company allows you to take that information in their business practices or in their top management behavior, etc., etc. So, If you don't have a secure system, you cannot control for privacy. If you have a secure system, you can control for privacy. It depends on the company's privacy rules, if they are well protected or not. Now, another thing about privacy, and we'll be talking about this regularly, is these days very difficult to keep privacy. Remember we last time talked about information available on the net. Amazon has half of the purchases online in the United States. I don't know if it's in the world. Okay? Google has everything that you search. And many other things. Okay? Telephone companies can triangulate in your location. GPS has that information. Okay? So there are many, many sources of information. Some of them coordinate with the other ones, some of them you get it separately. So putting all that story together, privacy is a limited kind of thing. Okay, now let me tell you a very sad story. It's interesting conversation, however, to think about this. Do you still remember the marathon bombings in Boston? You don't remember it, right? Okay. What happened is maybe 4 years ago, 5 years ago, someone placed bombs in the garbage container, in the garbage cans, in the exit of the Boston Marathon. A few people got killed, several people got maimed. Still remember that? Okay. Now, what happened next?
Well, the whole city of Boston immediately went into emergency and they shut down the whole city of Boston just to look for those two guys.
Yeah, but we didn't know at that time who were the two guys. So what did the police do in order to detect what happened? Hold on, let me have someone get other people.
Didn't they check security footage?
Say that again?
Didn't they check security footage from the area?
Yeah, they did all those things, but the main thing that's right, they looked at videos. Okay? Boston has a lot of videos out there. And so they looked at the videos, and they looked at the videos, and they looked at the videos. And they identified one individual that was putting stuff in those two cans before the explosions. What did they do next? They take those pictures of those guys, they posted it on social media. So they did a thing called group sourcing. What is group sourcing is basically trying to get many people to cooperate on something done in a group, by a group. Okay, so what? They put the pictures on the internet and on TV. And then, what happened? They found the guy. But in the process, an MIT cop got killed. Why? Because he recognized and tried to arrest by himself. Very dangerous thing to put in a group source dangerous information. Very dangerous. What they did was, now, let's think about privacy here for a second. Couldn't Boston have a list of everyone that lives in Boston with their pictures? Not too much. Yeah? Yes, no, maybe. Why not?
Are you saying is it possible? Or
Is it possible?
I think it would be nearly impossible.
What do you think, Karen?
I think it's possible because you use Facebook, you always put your location where you live, so you can source like that. And you already
scan the driver's license in the great Boston area. Okay? They could scan the ID cards. They could take pictures in the airports. They could, there are many things they could do. Could they organize that database in a way that you could recognize faces? Yes, no, maybe.
It's like kind of like those movies where you're trying to like they find the guy's picture and it goes through like a bunch of different pictures and then oh, and then here's a match, something like that. I don't know how
Mission Impossible.
Yeah, like Mission Impossible. I don't know how realistic and perfect that is. I think, but awesome.
I mean, even Facebook has facial recognition technology now.
Facebook facial recognition technology is very good.
Yeah, like it can, like it will suggest people based on that.
Do you use have you ever used a photo organizer called Picasa? It's a product died now, but
That's Google Photos.
yeah, it's Google. Now it's in Google's Photos. And it's really very good. And you know, it's not only very good by recognizing faces, it's very good, but like for example, mixes my son with me. Okay, and he has a lot of hair. And he's skinny, he's a marathon runner, still mixes. So it's pretty good technology because identifies facial conformations and etc. But they didn't have it. Why don't they have it? I could let other people think about this.
I think it would make people uncomfortable to know that you fail or something. I also don't think it's useful.
Probably barriers to get all that information. You get it in theory, you can get all that information you get, but how are you going to get it? Time-wise, one, but also legally, how are you going to get it based on getting their personal information, their picture. It's the government who's compiling this list, so that would apply.
The government does have lists, does have pictures. They just don't have it in an exactly accessible form. But anyway, Boston didn't have any visual databases. They had no idea who those guys were. And they used good sourcing to find them. Okay, in the process, they had thousands of hours of policemen looking at those pictures and looking at those things, and etc., etc. So, what is the conclusion out of this story? Is that privacy is gone. Meaning those tapes are there. You could create a facial database that would be not deterministic, meaning wouldn't exactly find the person, but would be able to filter large number of information. And they could, you know, the next thing is a database of faces, what you associate with them, addresses, social security numbers, etc. And those are very easy to come if you have a database of driver's licenses in Boston. Okay, so you can have all this parameterization. And of course, if you want to continue doing this, then you can figure out what people are searching in Google. And if someone has those facial characteristics and are searching in dangerous terrorist sites, you have a higher probability, we call it the suspicion score, that that's the person. However, what I usually say about privacy is forget, privacy is gone. However, be lucky because you're not very interested. You think anyone will spend millions of dollars to identify you? Unless you did something very bad or you have too much money, someone else takes some of it. You agree or disagree? It is very interesting that through this semester we are going to kind of talk about sources of information, and we are going to particularly focus on audit. But it's very interesting to think about this idea of privacy and my qualification. Privacy is more in danger if you are evident in some reason or the other. Okay, what else? You remember, there are two things still missing here on this thing that I wanted to do.
How much e-commerce has changed commerce in general?
Okay. No, the one thing you didn't mention, I thought you would mention first, I usually mention first, is there is tremendous penetration of the internet, and the primary device is smartphones. And smartphones, by the way, the sales, and what they said there, that the sales of smartphones have gone down, essentially in growth. And why is that? Because the market is already saturated. And then I even talked about India and said at least India is still growing quite a lot. And in China already flattened a little bit, in the US flattened quite a lot. Okay? And then we talk about different devices and the progression of the devices. Yeah.
I want to say is, like every company and every agency, they have like a risk management team that establish rules and regulation on how and when a data, in what circumstance data can be sent over the firewall, for what purposes, and that risk management team would do their due diligence to make sure that data is handled properly.
Yeah, I'm going to let talk about risk when we talk about risk in auditing. So stay with me there. Okay. Let me work a little bit what I was going to do. Because I think I have some slides here that might be worthwhile. At 3:15, June is going to come here and talk about her thesis, which is one piece of her thesis, which is we call Audit for All. But before that, I think I want to talk about this. First, I want to hear from you. What is big data? Meaning there is, all of you have heard the words big data at least a few times a day. So what is this thing that they call big data? Yeah.
It's just basically large amounts of information that don't necessarily have correlated value that needs to kind of be massaged and extracted for usage.
Okay. Come on, give it a shot. Yes.
Well, like traditionally it would be like from getting it from like a study or something with specific like factors and results, whereas big data is just like based off of human patterns, like people interact with the internet or whatever. There's not like specific study that's
Okay. I want to hear a little bit more for you to speculate about what is this thing that we call big data. So I think what Samantha was talking is kind of the evolutionary view of data, meaning there was kind of a traditional set of data and progressively more things are becoming available. Now, is the data today the data today very different from the data 20 years ago? Why? Why?
Because now you add social media where the data coming in is unstructured. But what you can do is you can use, like, let's say we were talking about Twitter. You can use a Twitter API and then you can pull all of the tweets and you can structure them yourself.
Okay, so what you're saying here is that there are some sources of data that didn't even exist in the past. Okay, Twitter didn't exist 20 years ago.
And the
Right.
data
I was going to be one saying technology advanced math in the past 20 years. Like applications like Excel, you can pull up if every day for the past 100 years, a dozen P500 run whatever regression, analysis, or just extract information, make assumptions about the future. Basically, technology is
You said actually more than that. You said that there is a organization of technology whereby you can apply methods of analysis that existed when you didn't quite use it in the past. Okay, we are moving a little bit in the direction. Let me just, this is actually the classic literature, talks about 3 V's to define big data. Large volume, a lot of data, variety, different types of data. He was talking about structured versus unstructured data, and we'll clarify that, and velocity. Okay, that you get much that data turns around very fast, and you get a lot of data progressively in the domain. Okay, and we can come up with 4 V's, 5 V's, 6 V's, etc. Let's stay with the 3. Okay, I think this little discussion will clarify a little bit. First, data was manual. Totally manual, there were no computers around. Then, computers were developed, and you started storing data. Okay, did data exist before? Of course it did. Okay, the caves find marks on the wall of how many cats people had. So there was accounting being done in the caves before. And actually, I was in a conference, American Accounting Association conference, where this guy was arguing that the origin of writing is about bookkeeping. People were using the caves and the first forms of marking and taking notes as being accounting. I wasn't totally convinced about, but I liked it. I thought it was a very good presentation. Yeah, and also very nice. However, when computers came in being, they started collecting data in a, what we call traditional data form, which was everything that you kept on paper in some organized form, you started punching it into computers. Correct? Okay, and there were companies that were creating visibly large data sets about you, about their business, and etc., etc. Okay, but it's what I call hand collection. Pick up the data, type it in, and you used to start punching it into paper tape, then paper cards, then became memories that started this tape storage, and then this storage, and etc., etc. That's how it evolved. Remember, typically the computer systems of today are digital. Okay, and they typically store information in zeros and ones. So this was the way data were collected, and things started changing a little bit. And somewhere like 25 years ago, this idea of a uniform product code came in. And what is a uniform product code? You all know it. Is this. Not this. This. The barcode. Okay, and there was actually tremendous resistance in the retail industry to use barcodes. It just was different. But of course, it created a whole different set of data. Because from one side to the other, you didn't really collect the data manually, but you could collect the data with help of the device. So you scan the data to the barcodes in the supermarket. And what this allowed you to do is create a whole different set of analytic questions that you could ask. What was bought in the supermarket? Which products were related? A classic example is diapers and beer. Okay, it turned out that by correlation analysis, people that buy diapers tend to buy more beer. Is that true? That's true. Do you know why? Put your name in front of your own and who you are. Does anyone here can tell why?
I think you just said it's stress.
Stress? Your kids create stress? I think stress has something to do, but not very big one.
Also, most people that have kids are old enough to go out here.
Okay, that's another factor. But what's the biggest factor? The biggest factor is you have two little brats at home. You know you know what they do in the restaurant. So what do? You stay home much more. Actually, it's very interesting. I have a reason for this example. What is the example? Typically today, collect data in large amounts and have several variables, and you create correlations. This correlates with this, correlates with this. If you haven't taken statistic, correlation is a relationship between two variables. And the correlation between beer and diapers were high in one direction. People that buy beer doesn't necessarily buy diapers. But people that buy diapers will buy more beer. Why? Because people that buy beer doesn't necessarily have kids and have to stay home. So what did I just do? And this is the method, the reason why I'm talking about this, is just because two things correlate doesn't mean that they are really related. All what it means that they correlate. Now, if you have a theory that explains the relationship, then you might have a causality associated with it. But causality is you don't prove, you just infer. So that's the classic beer and diapers example. So here they have data about you. Here they started having data about the product. And in addition to marketing, they started doing things like process, supply chain studies. For example, managing better the inventory on the store, finding out slippage, finding out items that sold a lot, items that sold less, and etc., etc. So, but this data is not anymore purely hand collected. Is somewhat manually collected. Now, manually collected and electronic collected are complementary. So you can collect some of it manually, some of it with electronic means. But if you remember the old supermarkets, they had this little wand, and they went, and then it worked and they went again, but it was much faster than time the numbers. And you go to supermarket today, you don't do wands, you kind of scan the can, okay? And you go to certain supermarkets today, you don't scan anything. Just go out and it counts it using RFID technology, which is barcode on a chip. Okay, RFID, Radio Frequency Identification. It's a chip with a barcode on it. And you don't need to go with a WAN to it. What you do is you radiate the chip with a certain frequency and it responds. This is my barcode. You all know it because you use EasyPass. What is EasyPass? It's an RFID chip. And this is a technology that allows to send that information farther. It has a battery on it, so it sends the information farther. Okay, but what this actually did is allow you to join information about what you bought to who you are. So it's linking two types of data source and answer certain management questions. Next step. Next move here. what could you get is web data. What is web data? Here is the internet, the web. This is you. These are websites. Your internet service provider, ISP, actually has the information of every website that you visit. Correct? You put the URL there, you put an address in there. So what they have your address has their address. And that thing goes over here and goes from website. Careful, a misnomer. I visited the website. You never visit the website. The website visits you. You send the address of the page you want, and you get the page back to your computer. So you didn't go there, you just asked for information. Next explanation. It's called packet switching. These packets that they send in pieces. And so you ask for a page, the page from there to many routes to your computer, it gets reassembled. But these guys here have information of addressor and addressee. This one can be anonymized to a certain degree, but you can't re-anonymize this one, or they won't find the website they want. As this is packetized, this is a packet of information. There is a packet header, which says the address where you're going to, the address you come from, and some characteristic of this information. This can be encrypted. This cannot be encrypted, because if you encrypt this, it will never get there, never will go back. There is a little trick of anonymization that some places use, which is this guy here is a privacy-conserving ISP, and some things like Tor and etc., that actually keep your address secret, but at the end it cannot be secret because it has to get to you back, or it's not useful. So it can keep your address, your email address, can be an anonymization thing, but it's not terribly secret. However, look at this trend here. Background data, now purchase data, now which website you visit, a lot of information about you. Now, remember what I was talking about, collection. Automatic collection. So now it's not even a scanner. Now it's going there, the data is collected. Automatic. Now, think about the volume. Volume of this thing here, hand collection, is limited. How much data can you perforate? Put everyone in the universe punching data, you still don't get any significant volume compared to today's volume. However, now you're collecting automatically everything that goes to the supermarket. You're getting much more information, linking with that. Why do you think that supermarkets give customer cards?
Your purchases?
To identify. Yes. If you don't pay with credit card, if you pay with credit card, you identify already. If you don't pay with credit card, how do they want to identify you? Oh, I don't think at that stage they have email. Eventually they will have your email, but huh?
Like you look and check you don't have to talk, you just keep your phone number.
Yeah. If you don't pay with credit card, you typically will pay with a check. So they created the check cashing cards. And the whole purpose of the check cashing card is not to save them a lot of risk money, it's basically to identify you. And then they created that everyone that goes to the supermarket gets a little discount based on their cards. Because now there are people going there with cash, paying everything in cash, so they couldn't identify them. So it's worth to them something like 1 to 3% identifying you. Because they think that they market better, they have all kind of credit protection, etc., etc., etc. Now, there's a lot of information here. Now, this is not only, oh, by the way, look at the questions being asked. Have you ever heard about click path analysis? Click path analysis is you are looking at where in a website or what website you are visiting. There are consolidators that actually join websites in analysis. One classic one is called DoubleClick. And if you look carefully at your web browser, now instead you see a little label, it's DoubleClick something, something. That's a company that collects the logs of different websites and analyzes it, basically to serve marketing information to businesses trying to sell people. But look at this. The Internet Service Provider has what websites you visited and who you are, typically. These guys in the side have a certain idea of this. And why do you have so many websites now with name and password? Things that are not particularly private. Because they want to know who you are. Okay? And there is a thing called cookies. And cookies are files that are placed in your computer that identify your password in a particular place. So if you allow cookies, very often you can go to a website without identifying yourself, because you already were identified before, and they love it because now it links your different visits to that site or to other sites. But look what's happening with your information here. Your information is being collected automatically, and who you are, what are you buying, what website you're visiting, and the next thing is, where are you going? Because it identifies your location. Then there is the three, what I call the three big sources of data. Video, text, and sound. Now, if you think this is big, think about, for example, the volumes of social media. How many billions of tweets there are a day? And then think about voice recordings, and then you think about video. So this is big, this is probably bigger. So there are technologies that create a bridge, I call it bridge technologies, between the three big data types of things. For example, we talked in the Boston bombing story, we talked about face recognition. Now that's kind of a remote story. A more common story is you have cameras in your parking lot. Why do people have cameras in the parking lot? Why do they have cameras in the parking lot? So you don't want people to break in cars, correct? So you put a guard sitting over there with cameras and looking at the cameras, correct? Yes, no? Yes. Now, what else can you do to save yourself a little bit of effort? Guy is there eating a sandwich, looking at 25 cameras, having a nap. So, you create a database with every employee's picture. And you have software match the face to what's identified in the motion in the camera. And then you put all your frequent clients that visit. And from one second to the other, you can put a little plug to give a shock in the guard every time someone unidentified shows up. That's just a joke. And no one would laugh. Okay? Next thing, you keep a record of that particular parking lot. So now you have a database of faces. You have cameras watching. You have a database of how frequently people visited you. You have other type of information. Who left with whom? If two of your employees are having a romantic relationship, you might know. You don't like that, though. Good or bad? Remember, privacy is gone. Forget it. But we have an interesting technological thing here. You have a record of people moving in and out. You know who did it. And you have a security feature. Now, if we sat here for another few hours, we could come up with 10 other applications, 20 other applications, etc., etc. Now, is there going to be software to do all of these applications? No. Only the ones that you can make money out of. Why would you develop a piece of software that doesn't give you a profit? And there are some exceptions to that, but so the whole idea of developing apps, applications, is contingent on what is the utility of the thing and can it be marketed. Stay with that thought because we'll talk a lot about this idea. So you're looking at this. I actually have another set of slides that I add one more circle there. And instead of being one circle, it's a lot of little yellow circles here. And that's called Internet of Things. Have you ever heard of IoT? Yes, no, maybe. What is Internet of Things? This is devices that connect on the internet and transmit information. But most of the internet usage today still is person to person, or in the worst case, person to device. But this is two devices talking to each other. The classic example, and I think I sent you a slide of bots on the net, is basically your car talking to your kitchen. So you're driving home, and it turns on your oven for the pizza, gets the robot to pick out the pizza, put it on the table, gets the temperature up in your house, tells your wife that you're arriving, or doesn't tell your wife you're arriving, okay? Goes on and on and on and on. So what are these devices? These devices are new devices typically related to smart chips with RFID that transmit information between two pre-designated devices. And this thing can be done every minute, every second, every nanosecond. So Internet of Things, which will be a source of data internally and a large source of data externally, is evolving to be a very large source of data for the big data environment. Okay, we'll talk more about Internet of Things. I will show you a couple of videos about it. And here it is. I forgot I had it. And you see how I represent it. And a usual thing I say is that you need to put a buffer between your internal sources of data and the world. Because collecting this data is very onerous, and keeping it is impossible because it's too big. Now, what else could be inferred about this? Yeah.
there's a lot of unstructured data coming from Internet of Things. Let's say you're using the Amazon Echo. Amazon, like, when you make a request to Echo, that's like unstructured data because they have to analyze your speech patterns. And that's not like the traditional structured data.
I was yesterday at home, and I bought a Amazon Home device, a Google Home device. Okay, and you have to go to it. Okay, Google, that wakes it up, and then the next thing is play me Maria de Tania, that's a Brazilian. And if they have it, they will play it. And my granddaughter was sitting out there. Okay, come on, maybe I'll let you. And I didn't understand what she was saying, but Google understood and played what she wanted. Then I have Amazon Echo at home. And it's basically the same kind of thing, but it's not okay Google, but Alexa. And so I go, Alexa, play some music. It plays. And then when she goes, Alexa, play some music. And Alexa goes back and says, yes, Miklos. And my granddaughter gets furious. How come it's so don't say it? Yes, Marina. And it's just kind of the training of these voice response devices and the capabilities change. Now, I think Echo came up with 6. You can have 6 people registered to voice recognition. I haven't tried it. I have to try it with my granddaughter. But it's, he was talking about the data collection capabilities on this. The first thing is very interesting. I want you to think about this a second because I don't have a conclusion. I want to hear if anyone has a conclusion. Amazon Echo or Apple is came up with one right now. These things recognize a call, Alexa, or OK Google. But they are on all the time. Okay, now the question is, what is it collecting about you?
Well, one time, someone's house got robbed, and the first thing that the police did was take Amazon's Echo device, and they were able to figure out who robbed the house.
Is it recording all the time? But it could be.
Somehow,
It could be. There was a big scandal about Samsung. Samsung had their TVs has voice recognition. So you say turn on, turn off, has a vocabulary you can obey. And turns out that it was collecting other things happening in your house and recording. And so there was a big fuss, and Samsung came back and said, sorry, we're not going to do this anymore. But it's very interesting to think they have these devices, if they are collecting just after you call their attention, just after you call their attention a few words, or they're always recording and always transmitting back on the internet. I don't know the answer, I think each company has a different policy, and etc. And I think when you get these things and do the act, you have to approve the release of privacy. And there are pages and pages of privacy rules, you don't read it. So you don't know what you're selling your soul there. Okay. But it's very interesting. These are actually, I would call Internet of Things. Type of data could become much more voluminous than anything else because it's collecting everything. Okay, so this is the big data story. And you understand why is this called big data? There's a lot of data there. And the volumes in millions of times what you used to have before. Okay, I'm going to do one more thing on the slides and then I'm going to move ahead. You haven't taken auditing, but you're going to understand this to a certain degree. Part of the audit process is verifying inventory. What does that mean? Is the company declares in their financial statement that they have so many dollars in inventory. And so what do auditors do at the end of the period? they go in there and count inventory. Okay, I have 20 of this, 100 of that, 1,000 of that, and etc., etc. And then you add all the values together based on what you have in your books, and you come up with a number. And the job of the auditor is make sure that that number is reasonably correct. Hold on a second. So, how can you improve that thing dramatically? Well, one thing you can do is instead of physically going and counting inventory, it takes a lot of time and money, what are you going to do? You actually put the chip in each one of the pieces of inventory. So instead of having the barcode, you have an RFID. This was very expensive to be done a couple of years ago, but now these chips can go from ½ cent to 2 cents a cost. So you go over there and just press the button, and they all respond their numbers, and you can count. Pretty good, correct? Pretty good. What I'm trying to do is show you a method and a way of thinking about things, not teaching you yet about auditing. Okay, so you do, this is for doing year-end physical counts. And why don't auditors go every month and count? Or every day and count? Yeah. Someone.
It takes forever.
Huh?
Like it takes forever.
Takes forever is expensive, right? Okay? And the decision is a kind of a cost-benefit thing over decades, whereby the benefit of taking inventory every day is not as, and you save yourself in some shrinkage, is not worth it, all the costs you have in doing it. That's what they value. But what is the incremental value? What is the incremental value of, instead of taking year-end physical counts, you take every month the RFID. Maybe not very much, but maybe you have more accurate end of the month. You can also have daily RFID counts. What is the cost of doing that? Very, very low. Remember, you're collecting this all electronic. You're giving 1 second. Okay, now is a whole different story. Now what we are trying to think here is other things we can do with this now that we have this data. Now, we didn't, in the traditional reason, we didn't count inventory every day, every month, every year. Now that we can do it very rapidly and for very little cost, maybe there are other things we can do with this thing. And I'm going to put the initials here, and I'll tell you what the name is. And this is a little theory that we already developed. Technological process retrofitting. What does that mean? Is that you develop a technology for measuring inventory at the end of the year. And then from 1 second to the other, you have all these other things you can do with this technology that you couldn't do before because it didn't exist. So you can improve your process, in this case, your audit process. So here it is. End of the year, then month, day, you can do it minute, second, nanosecond. And now let's try to link it. Now instead of putting just a measurement here, we put a measurement here too. So when the truck arrives and delivers the good to inventory, you know that you have addition to inventory. You can look at that and compare it with the things you bought. And knowing how many you ordered, compare with your invoice that was issued. You do an invoice matching. The other thing you can do is every time one walks out, because you're now measuring every tenth of a second, you connect it to your sales. So your cash register and the entry of your company are interlinked. Now, do you have a better measurement of what's going on with your business now? Of course you do. Is it worth it spending the money to do this? Okay, Samantha answered this before, so I'm going to ask her this question. Samantha, you wisely thought about RFID on this thing and etc. Now, how do you decide if you're going to put this in place and this in place? Everyone can answer, it's not only Samantha. Yes, Alice.
It would depend on how expensive or how...
Right, cost benefits. What are the benefits that you're getting? Now, think about this. Someone might sell that application. So, you are going to go and buy it, don't have to develop it. And this guy developed it internally for their own usage. Now they can sell it to you for much less cost than to develop. And from one second to the other, you don't only have your inventory control, you also have your delivery process control, because you will get one of these devices and put it in your main suppliers. And when the truck driver stops to visit his girlfriend and leaves a little present there from your inventory, you're going to know that too. Yes or no? Is that bad or that's good? Except for the truck driver, not good for him. What else? What is the storytelling? And by the way, this is not auditing of today. Auditing of today is going there and counting at the end of the year, because that was the cost benefit that we discussed. But from one second to the other, these potential set of applications are popping up. So I am doing two things at the same time. I'm explaining to you how some of these technologies work, and trying to make you think about the economics of app development. Okay, let's just think a little bit more about this, because I think it's worthwhile. And we now have a world of interlinked, usually called the ecosystems, things that how things work together. And you can connect in your suppliers, with your sales, with your inventory keeping. You are using RFID, but you also have a GPS to allocate where your trucks are moving. And what happens with the volume of storage that you need? For this, physical storage, yes. How about for electronic storage? Data that you're collecting. You're collecting more or less data? Much more. Instead of collecting data once a year, you're collecting every nanosecond or every thousandth of second. But there is an ecosystem of information here. Actually, Jun today is going to come here at 3:15, and Jun is going to be talking about Audit 4.0. You haven't even heard about Audit 1.0, Imagine 4.0. But she's going to pick up, she talks about the mirror world, and the mirror world is the information contained here. And the physical world, which is your inventory, your trucks, your supplies. Another thing for you to understand that this vision of the future is not today, but it's getting there fast. And what also is happening is that non-accounting processes are capturing this. Meaning supply chain guys realize that managing it this way is much better. Okay? And what happens is that your clients and your suppliers are part of the same ecosystem. And in auditing, you send confirmations. And confirmation is a totally obsolete process that everybody is doing. Is your bank balances, you send an email or you send a piece of paper to the bank and say, confirm that you have this balance. Then they mail it back to you. You know, in a few years, whenever we decide to change, your banks will be interlinked on this ecosystem, and every moment it will be confirming the balance. But it will only happen if there is an economic reason to do that. Like we talked before, apps only exist in a domain whereby there is a reason to do it. And so you could imagine 1 million applications, but only the ones that have an economic value are going to be developed. I'm going to say something that you might not understand now, but you will understand it eventually. I always think that there is nearly impossibility to keep cybersecurity. It's very difficult to keep cybersecurity. Remember, I said technology given, technology taken. And what's happening is that you're going to have an app, then you're going to have an app on top of the app, then you have a top of, and you're going to have this layer, piggyback applications, and each one of those applications have their own backdoors, have their own. They were not developed for you, they are developed for a large margin of people, and there were reasons to allow it to have leakages. Not in that case, not leakage, but independent access. So it's very, very difficult to imagine a world where you are using 5 layers or 10 layers of applications, and all of them have total integrity. And for example, this new attack, the WannaCry attack, it didn't come from the top, it's actually come from the side. It's basically authorized people that work with you that had a leakage in security, and they go into the side. It's a weakness of Microsoft's old operating system that allow that entrance, unapproved entrance. And so the idea that systems in the future will be cyber secure is not very likely. There will be more secure ones and less secure ones. But there will be a whole set of cumulative applications that are going to be using, and the economics are very clear. I'm just going to call you, just imagine if this, my friend here, he doesn't have a name in front of me, so I forgot his name. Okay? He walks, he puts 20 RFID chips in his pocket, and he walks in here. Is that possible? Very, very possible. This is what's going to happen. People bring RFID chip, put it there, take out 20 pieces of inventory, go home. Technology given, technology taken. Now, if I am smart and I have detectors all over here, I'm going to see those things arriving, and his badge would be a smart badge, will identify who is walking in at that moment. Where does his privacy go? To POP. There is no privacy on this. But the world of auditing in this interconnected world is a whole different set of things. And so I just kind of put some other things that will happen in this world. It's very, very interesting. And from here on in the slides, Jun will present it at 3:15. We have about 5 more minutes. So you guys want a longer break, a 20 minutes break instead of 15 break? Yeah. Okay, let's get started. First, before I introduce you Jun, let me introduce you Maria Elena Peterson. She's there. She was a partner with E&Y for 20-something years, and also worked with PwC, and she's a member of the Public Interest Oversight Board. And she's just giving us a visit because she wants to hear all the wisdom that Jun wants to import to us.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor.
Yes.
Pleasure to be here.
PhD students who take on
This year 5, usually 1 or 2.
So where's the jury cutoff?
Oh, we'll talk about that. Next thing you're going to ask for what color underwear I'm wearing. So we are very happy to have, I would say, Dr. Jun Dai, although formally hasn't totally finished, but she defended 3 days ago.
Was it successful?
3 days ago.
Okay.
And she has some very successful. Very successful. June has been here with us now 5 years, maybe 6 years. Yeah, and she has the amazing feat. She has 6 publications during her PhD program. And she is like my first PhD student after 40 that I consider visionary. And so I am pretty depressed with her departure back to China. But I don't think she'll be away very long. So. And guys, put your imaginations to work and see what she's showing here. Okay? This is not today, not tomorrow, and I think the advantage is that you haven't been polluted yet about Professor Brown's liberal rules of auditing. So you can see, can take a bigger vision.
Thank you, Professor. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jun Dai, and now I'm graduating. It's a very big step for me. This topic is one chapter of my dissertation. So it's exploration or discussion on a new revolution or like advancing technologies, how those new environment or changing technologies can help auditors to collect more evidence to improve audit quality, etc. In the manufacturing industry, there is a big revolution happening. So they call it Industry 4.0, and it is starting from 2011, which is first brought up by Germany, and then it spread out to the world, including the US. What is this new revolution? This new revolution uses many new technologies, such as cyber physical system, Internet of Things, Internet of Service, and smart factory to link the physical manufacturing processes to a virtual model, and then use the virtual model to do calculations, to do analysis, to build prediction models, and to real-time control the manufacturing processes and other business processes. So, yeah. So this is what I'm going to do is show you a video, actually 3 videos explaining what is Industry 4.0, what is cyber physical system, and also what is the smart factory. This video explains what is Industry 4.0.
In the history of industry, there have been many revolutions. And now we're facing the next one, connectivity. But how can a company handle this? What does the industry of the future look like? Our experts have been wrestling with these questions for years. They know that the complete digitalization of the manufacturing industry plays a key role in the process. Why? That's simple. In the future, it will be more important than ever to operate quickly, flexibly, and cost-effectively. Product life cycles are becoming increasingly shorter, while product variants are becoming progressively larger. Just like large volumes, small quantities must be produced economically. Lead times will become shorter, so the delivery must become faster. For companies, this means that in the future, they must align their organization much more rigorously to meet customer needs. This can only be achieved if companies start today to digitize, automate, and above all, interconnect all processes. Not only within the company, but also along the entire value chain. This means a convergence of the various areas. Customers and business partners are part of the total process. The goal is to make all relevant data available anytime and be able to control the whole network of value creation in real time, from product planning and product and production development all the way up to production and logistics. Of course, data security must be assured at all times. Synchronizing digital and physical value streams not only increases productivity of companies, but also their efficiency, quality, and innovative capacity. The Industry 4.0 concept isn't new, but unlike before, we now have the knowledge and technology for it to become affordable reality. As you can see, the industry of the future presents us with many opportunities, challenges, and questions. But what's most important? What will you do? Let's shape the future together, securely, cost-effectively, with quality and efficiency. KPMG.
And I think the key point of Industry 4.0 is to collect more data. So now even though we are in a big data era, but however, even more data needs to be collected, real-time data needs to be collected. So that's why we use sensors to collect and cameras to collect the product conditions, if your inventory is broke or not. And the surrounding environment to kind of self-navigating some robots to do inventory investigation, etc. This is what the physical system is doing. So this video shows experiments. Actually, it's developed by MIT, and so it's not a real-life example, but it's kind of a pilot experiment on how this cyber-physical system can help to automate this planning or gardening processes. So, although this is still, you can see this robot. So there are some plans and with some monitors, those accelerometers into it. And this robot is an example of several physical systems that connect to the internet. And those internet are also collecting information. Here they just use a command control this computer device. Computer can also collect other information. If the soil is dry, then the robot will start to self-navigate towards that plant and water. So you can see this robot is self-navigating itself. So to find that plant, whatever it is, to go to other places, some of it can be very expensive.
What exactly is a smart factory? To understand what the term smart factory actually means in regards to Industry 4.0, we have to take a look at how modern industries work. In production, there is one central mind that knows what the finished product will look like. This mind is the central control unit, communicating with the individual modules. If our product was a paper plane, it would translate into this. This is the central hub. It knows what the plane will actually look like at the end, and gives the paper and the folding instructions to the individual modules. Each module does a different work step, in our case a different folding step, and relays the result back to the central hub until the paper plane has been completely folded at the end. So we see it works. But can it still be improved? How would this be done in Industry 4.0 in a smart factory? At first sight, it would appear quite similar. But in this case, the mind is located in the individual modules. This means that they have a certain degree of self-control. This is possible because the instructions for the single work steps are right there on the product. So each module knows what to do without having to communicate with the central hub. In addition, the modules of a smart factory are able to communicate with each other. So the finished product can be passed on right to the next module. The result? Avoiding the detour over a central hub during production of a paper plane and any other product saves a lot of time. The input from all sensors and engines of the machines are being processed locally in the modules. So this means the control function has now been distributed, and thanks to the information on the workpiece, there is an intelligent and self-organized ensemble. The communication path grows shorter. Communication with each other, information on work pieces, and self-organization. These are the three most important factors that are necessary for the modular and decentralized structure of a smart factory. And for this modular and decentralized construction, Pilz offers its customers the Industry 4.0 Proof Automation System, PSS 4000, as the perfect solution. So the smart factory becomes one part of the future we can already reach for today. Let us start together into the future.
So instead of using a centralized computer or system, companies can actually distribute the data management, the control of the processes to different or many various physical objects. For example, the machines could be equipped with sensors connected to the network and also have adjust the planning of the manufacturing processes, and maybe when they detect that this process, like there's no manufacturing is doing in this machine, it will be self-shut down or etc. to save energies, something like that. So in the industry 4.0, so anything, any physical objects that could be equipped with those sensors, those cyber-physical systems, etc., to process data to be controlled locally. So there are, like, as I said, there are two important components of Industry 4.0. First is to collect more data using those sensors, and second is to decentralize this data processing, those controls to various physical objects. So because the industry is kind of investing a lot and also implementing those new technologies into manufacturing industry and many other more business processes. So we think that our auditors or accountants should be leveraging those new technologies, piggyback on those new technologies for our audit purposes. So where auditors need data, so the several physical, like those Industry 4.0 will help us to collect more and more data. And also our auditor needs to real-time control of the business processes. So those several physical systems help us to do that. So that's why we come up with this idea, Audit 4.0, which we advocate those auditors or accountants really piggyback on the technologies promoted by Industry 4.0 to collect more and more data and analyze, modelize, visualize this data for the purpose of providing efficient, effective, and real-time assurance. People may ask, we are accountants, we are auditors, but the companies may not really want to invest for this area, but we say they already invest in the manufacturing industry, and we just leverage those technologies for our audits and accounting purposes. This is just a quick review on how the audit history, how it moved from 1.0 to 4.0. So the in the 1.0, auditors do calculators and using calculations using pencils and calculators. And starting from 1970, like the CAATPs is rapidly adopted by all the profession, and the Word, the Excel are starting to use for documentation, for calculation. And in these decades, the accounting firms are really starting to look at those data analytics technologies and also want to leverage those non-financial data to collect the new audit evidence. So we imagine that in the near future, not very far, and since those new technologies is being more implemented to the industry, so auditors piggyback on those technologies to enable semi and progressively automation of audit. So here are some technologies that are already taught the sensors and the physical system. Internet of Things is predictions to like diagnostic session. Finally, I just want to give you a quick look of how this audit 4.0 will be like. In the future, the physical world, the physical object will be equipped with like sensors and connect to the network, and they will keep updating their information, and those information will be collected together to create a virtual model of the physical world. And each physical object will have virtual representatives in this virtual model we call it mirror world. And those information will be keep updating to the mirror world. And the mirror world will connect different entities, different machines together. For example, if these two business partners can talk with each other and share their accounting informations, corresponding accounting informations, so that auditors can, so that it allows cross verifications, and auditors can also check or collect new audit evidence from it. For example, if the suppliers updating their accounts receivable to the mirror world, and the company updating their accounts payable to the mirror world, and these two corresponding audit accounting transactions will be matched with each other, and for the cross verification of those accounting records. And also, within a business, the companies collect data from machines and devices, and also even their products, and those information will be collected to a data repository, and auditors could build the various of the data analytics model, continuous monitoring, continuous auditing model upon them. And then those models could be built in a cyber-physical system, which will be used to control business processes. Finally, this vision is that auditors in the future will be able to offer various of the services, like continuous auditing, continuous monitoring, predictive audits, etc. So those audit firms can offer this through a cloud, and they build those models on the cloud, and companies also upload their data on the cloud, so that the audit firms can monitor those companies' data remotely. And also in the future, because of this demand of analytics of the audit firms, so that the other auditing related service vendors, such as these data analytics firms, could be also offer their services through the cloud to help audit firms perform more advanced data analytics. Finally, there are some challenges in this new paradigm. First is digital crime, because in the industry, the audit 4.0, auditors will rely on many new technologies to collect information to make their judgments. However, if the companies manipulate or break those sensors or those equipment, then the auditors may not be able to track this information without even wearing it. So the auditors need to continuously monitor the effectiveness of this technology. And also, security and privacy issue will become very important, because in the Audit 4.0, data will be shared between different entities, different objects together, etc. So auditors need to set standardization of data is because there are lots of data transmission involved in the audit 4.0. So auditors need to set up the standards for the data so that to make this transmission seamless. That's it. Thank you.
Some manufacturing firms, especially in the automotive industry, are they already focused small manufacturing?
I think they are the pilots. I think they are the first industry that actually doing it. I know in Detroit, and this automobile companies actually invest a lot on this, and there is even like an organization or like association that actually advertising this.
So,
Let other people ask them. Let them ask
I can ask a question.
Instead of reactive to the audit, so we're monitoring and the sensor.
What do you think? I think it will work both ways. Some simple controls can be done by automation, by those devices, but like the complex judgment, like the building data analytics model, like the building the monitoring models, and also make the judgment of issuing opinion of the companies will still those rules will still be on. Well, what do you think about?
We need to know all this information to know if it is correct. We also depend on the devices to synthesize.
Yeah, I think like the auditor's job is to make the model, like decide or create the model. But the automation, like the execution of the model will be leave it to the object. However, the monitoring of the model, if the controls or those models are effective, those jobs is still on.
At the height of when we reach the peak of Audit 4.0, will we still need as many auditors as we do now?
I think this is a very tricky question, but I think yes, it is. Because even though there are many automations involving and we can reduce many manual work for auditors. However, there are still new, for example, new risk or new job for the auditor to do. In this case, we already mentioned that there might be digital crime, so companies may manipulate with those technologies to deceive auditors. So auditors also need to make strategy to fight that. And also, as I said, the decision making and the model building, those jobs still auditors. So auditors will be more technologically training in the future, and maybe the rule of will not be the rule of auditors will not be relying on the simple data processing, but more like decision making.
So we're still going to have a job.
That's someone else.
So do you think that will affect the education of accountants?
Yeah, I
For
think
instance,
so.
this program.
Yeah, I think so because auditors need to understand the technology. Because if management have more knowledge about the technology, they may have their way to deceive auditors. So auditors need to have even more knowledge about the technology to understand.
Do you think it would be more in addition to what you have to do now? Because you need to know everything we're going to learn, plus everything else that could arise, like you said, digital crime, everything you need to know how to monitor and everything that's going to be along with this.
Yeah, I know.
So it's going to be more.
Yeah. So you can earn more money. How long?
Go back to the first slide. No, the first graph. Sorry, the one that they think I usually talk about middle worlds and receptor when I talk about artificial intelligence, things called metaverse. But it's very interesting to think about this a little bit because you think about Google Maps. What is Google Maps? It's a middle world, right? And where does the middle world touch the real world? It's where you are and where you're going. Those are the two connectivity points. Okay, and then you start looking at this. There is this process called confirmation. I mentioned earlier. What is confirmation? Is where you want to match. If a record is what the outside world in the record is. So you send the confirmation. The bank, it returns the balance is correct. Okay? So there's this interconnectivity points done now by paper, but in electronics there is no reason why these things don't constantly connect. But our processes are not designed that way. But if you think carefully about what I showed you about inventory, connecting with the sales, connecting with the clients, connecting with the suppliers, it becomes like a metaverse. It becomes like a world of interconnectivity. It will take a long time to get there, but the function of verification, what is accounting? Accounting is a function of measure. What is auditing? Is a function of verification. Assurance is the word that we use. Meaning, this is the number that this guy tells me that is my sales. Auditors testify, attest that that number is correct. Okay? And you think about the stockholder and the company. But in reality, management in a big company needs to know that what people are telling them is correct. They also need to know if the partners that you have agreements with them are fulfilling their agreements. So there are all these relationships that need to be verified and attested that you're not being lied to. But this is my speculation. No one really knows. But I think with this increased interconnectivity of things, there will be easy ways to verify things. Because this plus this should be that. This is the analytics. We talk all the very frequent data that we are going to get. Very difficult to fake very frequent data. So Jun only just started this kind of thinking, but in reality, I think we need to write a paper going really down to the bottom of the thing and say, this is an example of this is an example of that, and this is how this would work, and except maybe I could book or something like that, putting some of these relationships out there. They are not going to happen immediately, but some of these will happen. Meaning this whole thing about confirming database to database. It's something that has to happen eventually. Swift and chips already do that. Those are the electronic transfer systems whereby bank to bank transfer money or internationally. They verify that both sides of the transaction have the same numbers. Okay, so it's doable and is necessary, but the economics were such, remember the economics of application, that it wasn't worth doing for everything, it was worth doing for that, those very high volume and expensive transactions. And many of these little elements here, okay, and I like the question about monitoring here. When we talked about continuous auditing in the Bell Labs 30 years ago, what were we doing literally? We were looking at the databases and the processes, measuring what was happening, and comparing it with the standard. And it was very far away. You created what we called an alert at that time, or an alarm. Okay? And manufacturing processes were that way. you are making paper pulp in an oven at the size of this building or larger. They have all these measurements automatically, and automatically, well, you're missing a cellulose, so you inject the cellulose. It's all self-balanced system with real-time monitoring. And auditing uses those real-time monitoring, continuous auditing, in order to understand where the auditor needs to go in. We call that audit by exception. And it doesn't exist in public accounting these days. Although two of the firms have consulting services for continuous audit. But they don't use continuous auditing because their job is to issue an opinion once a year and be associated with the quarterly opinion. So that's not happening. But it will happen with internal audit, and it's starting to happen. In certain internal audits where it's very sensitive to dollars, where there is high risks, and you progressively start putting these verification methods. But what you are saying is, we used to start our continuous auditing conferences arguing about what should this thing be called. Close to the time monitoring, close to the time auditing. Auditing, this is not auditing at all. This is data controls. Give it a name. More recently, we argued what is continuous audit, what is continuous monitoring. And we are going to continue arguing about these things. But what actually is happening is that certain businesses are putting in place monitoring mechanisms for assurance. And they use the same data for monitoring as they use for business monitoring. You know this guy from KPMG, Jim Dai, makes this distinction. Continuous monitoring is used by management. Continuous auditing is used by internal audit. Okay? Distinction like any other distinction can make. But what we learned in our AT&T with our labs effort is that you need a layer of monitoring in order to be able to do assurance. And what we also learned is we have really two projects, the auditing project and the production project. One was called, one was basically to measure the billing of AT&T, and the other one was to audit if that billing was correct. And the infrastructure was pretty much the same. The reports were different. Some of them were the same, some of them were very different. It took us a lot of time to get the internal auditors to agree to use the same reports with the Prometheus effort that was the management effort. And at that time was only when I was at Bell Labs, guys, don't think I'm too old, okay? From 86 to 90. Okay, first paper was published in 91. But at that time was the one system in the world that was doing this for auditing. Doesn't mean that they were not doing system monitoring for paper file production or for oven monitoring in iron ore works and things like that. But in auditing was the first. But now you're starting to find some companies actually doing this for economic reasons. It's worthwhile for the saving that they are doing or for the confidence they have in the process to put real-time monitoring. But you see, the culture change is a very difficult thing because what is an external auditor? It's someone that comes in once a year or 4 times a year to issue an opinion that the numbers you're giving are reasonable numbers. Okay? Or the wording they use is fairly stable. Okay? Fair statement, particularly the year. The other one, auditors are just associated. But in reality, that only serves a certain function. Now, we have been talking, Jun and me and several of us have been talking about how markets use information. You heard me last week. Markets now are trading 80 or 90% of all trades are real-time trades. Okay, what does it mean? A machine looks at what's happening and decides to buy or sell. So you can't wait for a year to get the financial information. You have to do it reasonably rapidly. The same concept applies here. The same concept applies here. This meaning is what is better to let a defective product leave your factory or get a number that is long continuous, or you interrupt it in the middle and restart. You save much more money if you interrupt it in the middle and restart. So these are starting to happen. We got a paper just now in JPA, and there's a Turkish company makes cement. And what they are doing is kind of product manufacturing and associating it with assurance. It's just quite interesting. Yeah. Isn't that it? You are not one of the referees? I'll send it to you. The problem is written in Turkish, not in English. It's difficult to read. Can we just go one more slide? So this is kind of the overall view. And the message here on this particular thing of Jun, this is all Jun's idea. I just stopped a little bit. The story here is the story that I was showing you with inventory. Okay? Customers, banks, etc., part of a middle world network which has common information. This is something that will blow your mind a little bit, and you'll continue blowing your mind for a while. They have this technology called blockchain. And you have, every one of you have heard Bitcoin, correct? And blockchain. And blockchain is a different form of that information processing, whereby your information is not kept private in your cellars, but is published in many different places at the same time. And so, for example, Bitcoin has no bank that banks for you. Okay? You basically, everyone is sharing the same information. And you know, some banks are now worried that we are going to have not need banks anymore. We are going to have systems that trust each other because they are duplicated so many times it's difficult to pay them. Trying to explain it simply. And the question here is a lot of this is intermediation, and how much of this intermediation can be avoided by creating things like blockchain. And that's kind of Jun's other paper about blockchain. But if you notice, there are a lot of parties here. There are suppliers, there is a company, there are customers, there are banks. And many of these things have intermediaries. The guy who is an agent, makes a profit, the bank takes a cut in every transaction that they process for you, meaning you go to the store next door and buy something with American Express, you might pay between 40 and 70% of that transaction to the bank for having that card and for that process. Bitcoin blockchain disintermediates. There is no commission taken, so to speak. There is a little less replication price, correct?
Yeah.
And so this is kind of breaking. But look at this. In the real world, all these guys are kind of dealing with each other and progressively confirming each other. And so, question that you asked about, is there going to be job for auditors? What do you think? Don't say no. It's just like, now, first, it is not legal, so you guys are free. I'm not. Okay. Second, I always say this, but you correct me if you don't agree. The distance between the data and management and the stockholder is getting bigger and bigger. There is more layers in between. Remember my piggybacking kind of concept? And each one of those things is not only a flow of data, but is a process that needs to be authenticated and has controls. And so actually I think what's happening is a very traditional manual cut and paste and etc. that auditors do are going to disappear. There is a lot of audit automation projects progressively coming up, not entire audit, this is other one. That's going to disappear. But the complex set of layers that interact and the danger that they pose and the accuracy of the models that we are using and the accuracy of the numbers that are coming out, it should be verified. And I think, and because the world is more automated, there is more needs for verification. And another thing is is that this verification is more complex now. So what is the consequence? I think there are going to be a different job for auditors. Standard setters need to understand that this thing is going to change. Standard setter like Mariana.
Trying to understand.
They need to understand that this is going to change. Actually, she is kind of working on trying to create a mentality of change. And the skill set of you guys is going to change a lot. And it can't change. Every time I say, let's put more analytics in PA, you know what I hear? There is no space to put it. Because we have MBA requirements, we have New York Society of CPA requirements. Where do we teach analytics? And actually, Alex did find a place to put analytics because he's good at it. Okay? But your skill set that you need is changing, but the educational system is holding us back. One of the sides of the story is ethics, standard setting. Say right? Ethics, standard setting, and education. That's the three things that PRB, public interest oversight board, worry about. And ethics, standard setting is telling you what to do, and then education is ability to get you to do it. And you're lucky in the sense that you are going to have enough analytics more than pretty much any other educational institution in the US. Even KPMG starting with master in audit analytics, and they are paying in two schools, Ohio State and no, not the right no, it's a Catholic school.
I think it's Villanova.
Villanova, that's right. And they are paying for 30 students in each one. There's a master of accountancy in analytics, but they don't have anyone to teach it, so I don't know what's going to happen there. But you are having much more than anyone else has. But I think that's the scenario. Can you just go to the next one? Okay. Frozen on you? Yeah, that's what. Otherwise, and now this is another interesting thing for you to think. And I have been saying this for a while in this class, but it hasn't happened yet. Is I think there'll be a lot of auditing that is kind of a module of service that one audit firm is going to buy from the other audit firm, or company is not going to buy an entire audit, it's going to buy a piece of the audit. And this is audit as a service. Okay, and the way June broke it down is some prediction, some monitoring, okay, and then she had products like analysis and audit software. And this is not obvious for multinational companies like KPMG or PwC, but the smaller ones, there are 700, and when last time I talked to them, there are 702 audit firms in the United States that provide services to publicly listed companies. Although the Big Four occupy 90% of the domain, okay? And what happens, the smaller firms don't have the resources to invest the way the firms are, the large firms are doing. So what are they going to do? They're going to buy audits and services. One more interesting evidence. When I started teaching IP audit, 30 years ago, I used to say, there is not going to be regular auditors in the future. Everyone is going to be an IP auditor. Well, this was 30 years ago, and around 15% of the population of auditors are IT auditors. Now, so it didn't change. It changed 15%. And why is that? I don't know. I think the reason is that technology is difficult, and technology wasn't very good to make it easy for anyone without a computer background to do. That's why Jun and me have been arguing for the audit data standard, and she has been working on audit apps, which is everyone can use it. And I'm going to go and talk to the PIOB and say that for public good, the most important things, or at least among the most important things, is an audit data standard whereby every company has to extract a file to be audited in all the areas, and then Jun's apps will work drag and drop, so you don't have anyone knows how to drag and drop. You know how to drag and drop. Of course. Everyone knows. You know how to drag and drop?
Yeah. Well, I have a question. What does IT auditing actually entail?
Entails using the computer to perform audit functions. They call them tasks. Okay? And you know, firms like AT&T, every single employee that comes in learns IDEA. Okay, and you guys are going to learn IDEA. I don't know whether you're going to learn IDEA or PCAOB. Like I'm going to learn it. Professor Helen teaches it, and usually who actually teaches the class is the leads. I don't know, maybe Andrea will teach it this year or whatever. Okay, one of our PhD students I'm sure will teach it. But that's, even if all of them take it, not all of them use it. Okay, and but there's a big difference between writing a script and dragging and dropping. But you know, if you can drag and drop, you need to know a little bit of statistics to interpret. You need to know how that fits in the audit process. So this is very interesting. You know, Jun, I imagine about this is how can we segment auditing in virtual, electronic, sellable parts that can be interchanged? How do you modularize? And that's an interesting question. But I actually think that this idea of audit as a service, like to sell other services over the internet, is going to be a very powerful idea. The idea of people walking in and filling up spreadsheets is going to progressively have to migrate to this, have to migrate to performing services on a delegated manner. Any other questions? Are you looking very sad? There will be no jobs for me? Don't worry, it's not happening yet. Jim, thank you very much. Okay, so I thought what I would do is what I was going to do last time we didn't have time. Is I was planning to go over with you. And I know you don't know auditing yet, but I was planning to go. Where is that folder? Here still. Yep. Okay, so this is the presentation I made for PCAOB. You know what the PCAOB is? It's a public company accounting oversight board. It's a part of the SEC created by Sarbanes-Oxley to regulate audit, status standards and audit. But it's more than that. They also inspect the firm. So I bet you about more than half of you are going to be in Big Four. And you know what's going to be happening? You'll be terrified of the PCAOB. Why? Because they have the ability and the charter to come in and inspect a certain number of audits every year. And they have methods to select what audits they would usually risk-based method, select what audits you do, and then they examine what you did. And Maria Elena has been inspected, correct?
Right.
And it's so they are a very powerful institute. This was created. It used to be that the Auditing Standards Board is a part of the ICPA that used to set auditing standards in the United States, set the standards. And after Enron and after Anderson collapsing, what happened is Sarbanes-Oxley was created in response to the crisis. And one of the things that Sarbanes-Oxley prescribed is PCAOB would be created, and the PCAOB would take over from the AICPA standard setting in the United States, auditing standard setting. Remember, who does the standard setting for accounting? FASB, National Accounting Standards Board. The SEC enforces it. So the FASB say these are the accounting rules. The SEC checks if companies are filing correctly. Okay, and so that's for accounting. For auditing, the PCAOB does both. Okay, and what happened is that the public companies that are listed in the stock exchange, are subject to PCAOB rules. Companies that are private or not publicly listed are subject to still ASP rules, accounting standards. That's the kind of scenario in the United States that is a little bit confusing. Because the PCAOB set the rules and inspect for the rules. On the other hand, in accounting, the FASB sets the rules and the SEC enforces the rules. So that's different, a little bit different. And in the UK, the FRC does all of the above. So it's only different countries have different setups. And to make your life even more miserable, in the United States, there is a thing called GASB, not FASB. And the GASB is the Government Accounting Standards Board. And they set the rules for state and local government accounting. However, they do not set the rules for federal accounting. And there is no SEC to enforce it. So the state of New Jersey doesn't obey GASB rules. They have their own rules. And so it's not a very homogeneous scenario. But this is the public, we have been working a lot with the PCAOB. And for the last 6 months, we worked and we made about 6 presentations PCAOB. Talk analytics to the inspectors, talk analytics to the board members, did all kinds of things like that. And one of them was this presentation to the SAC, which is advisory board group, senior advisory group. Advisory group is there a board, okay? And the 4 firms are represented there by the top partners. And this presentation was the beginning, and then there was a short presentation by PwC afterwards. And they basically picked up some things I thought and improved on it. And I don't have the slides here. I asked for them and I didn't get them. I will show it to you in another class. Okay? But they by and large agree with most of the comments around here, and I think you'll be interested in seeing them. Okay, and I always go to this little lecture about what auditing is for you guys, and today I'm going to go to something a little bit different. And the audit really kind of in the standards is divided into 4 pieces. The 4 pieces, the first piece is this piece we call risk assessment. And what is that? You look at that business and figure out where are the places that they could have attestation problems, that they have business risk and they might have audit risk. So you look at that. And based on that assessment, where there is the risk, you design your audit plan. You think about what do you need to verify. Okay, so if you find a particular area to have very high risk, you are going to put more of your audit resources into that. Now, company has a thing called system of internal controls. And what is a system of internal control? Are the manual and computerized procedures that you keep in order to make your operations reliable. And so basically are the methods to make sure that data is okay. So John here is an employee of my firm. He cannot go and buy whatever he wants on the name of the firm. He has a limit of purchase. So he has a purchasing ability of buying $10,000. Okay? And if he's buying $50,000, his boss, Peter, needs to approve it. So this is an internal control procedure. Now, if John goes there and buys from a vendor 9,900 and then another 9,900, now we get to the limit. Technically, he is correct. De facto, he is going over his limit. Very often, we call this split transactions. Very often, and they are not necessarily fraudulent, they are just violating controls. Meaning you are trying to buy a computer for your company, it's too expensive. If you are going to go to Peter, it might take you another 3 weeks and it's going to be very late. So what do? You ask them to split the transaction. Okay, and this is just a little example of potential things that go wrong. Our colleague here, Professor Hussein, does all these studies about duplicates in financial systems. Meaning, you have 2-3 times to pay the same invoice. Okay, it's not necessarily fraudulent, but could be. Okay. So the system of controls is the manual and computerized methods of making sure that things work. Typically, some of them are computerized, some of them are done. Now, then you perform some analytical procedures called substantive analytical procedures to establish, give you an idea of the particular processes working or not. So, for example, a typical substantive analytical procedure would allow you to analyze the values of an account, the changes of the value of an account, and etc., etc. And finally, the test of details, you actually go and look at transactions. And I'm going to give you an example of a certain analysis that's being done. But before I give you this example, I'm going to give you a traditional example, what you actually do. You go to a particular account, and then you're going to have to do a test, okay? So you pull a sample. So what does that mean? You pull a sample this is your population of a lot of transactions. You pull a little piece of that transaction. Okay? And then let's say you pull 50 transactions. And then you go to each one of those transactions. Go to the file cabinet, pull the transaction out, and see if the transaction has any faults in controls or in values. One by one. And I'm very oversimplifying this because I need you to understand the next step. So I'm trying to make it very simple. So you pull those things and you verify one by one. If you find something that is wrong here, you actually have to follow it up and figure out what was wrong. And technically, this is called judgmental sample. And technically, you're supposed to throw away the sample and try it again to see if you find the same problem. In reality, you don't do that very often. But this is a sampling method. And there are really two kinds of sampling methods very widely, and there are many details around there. One is judgmental sampling. I judge that I need 20, I need 50, I need 100 to examine. The other one is there are sampling tables by the AICPA. And you say this is the name of the this is INO, this is how many I need to take. But the problem with this is that in the old days, the size of the population was this. And now the size of the population is this. And statistical sampling allows you to multiply the values you have by a certain value and extrapolate the value of your population. Okay, so based on a little number of things, let's suppose this is 1/10 of the total, just making it up. 1/10 of the total. The value here is 1,000. Therefore, the total value of the population is 10,000. It's extrapolation. Just multiply by ratio. Okay, there are other ways to do it, of course. But the problem is that these populations are getting larger and larger, and the small sample doesn't really allow to extrapolate from the population. And that's just the beginning of the problem. We're going to talk about it. So traditionally, what do? You pull a sample and look at the details of the sample. I'm doing very simple here. Helen is going to spend a semester with the book this thick with you explaining these things. I'm trying to do it in 5 minutes. Okay? Now, what this slide was presented by a guy called Bob Dorer, who is the head of the analytic task force of the International Auditing and Assurance Standard Board, IAASB. And basically what he was saying, these 4 areas basically will be affected by audit analytics. And you can't really think separately of each one of them. What you need to do is bring them together in your thinking. That's about the bottom line of that story that he started. Now we are going to go to a few more details that I think you're going to find more interesting. Okay. This is just a description of the Rutgers AICPA Data Analytics Research Project. It's the only project of this nature in the United States that I know, or anywhere. And basically we started it 1 year ago, and it's funded by the AICPA, which you all know. Everyone knows what the AICPA? American Institute of Certified Public Accountants. So if you do a CPA exam, okay, it's basically validated by NASDAQ, but you can become a member of AICPA. And the Canadian CPA, and the 8 firms, Big Four, Big Four, plus the next 4 Big Four. So that's the project. And we are doing actually 3 projects. I eventually will hear about them. I'm not going to start talking about them right now because I want to do something else. So this is a 3-way match. What is a 3-way match? Is you are certified to audit revenue. What does it mean? You are trying to tell the world that the revenue that the company declared is correct. We don't use the word correct, we use fairly stated, because it's very difficult to measure little details. So fairly stated allows for an error, and the error is what's called the materiality threshold. Okay, which is, this is nearly right within a certain domain of right. You took statistics, then you know that that you can consider the concept of variance. Okay, but this is base 27. And what is a 3-way match? A 3-way match is when you compare your sales orders with the shipping documents and the invoice issue. There are 3 documents that in your old days you compared it manually. You picked up a sample and went to see, is there an invoice? Is the amount in the invoice correct? Is the price in the invoice correct? And if you found any little error, you had an exception and you follow it up. Okay, so that's kind of a 3-way match. when I prepared my original slides for SAG, I didn't have this in here. They put it in there. They decided we needed to explain what the legal matter was. But the purpose here is to find out if revenue is properly stated. Okay, and so this is an example actually out of KPMG. We presented this at the IASB meeting that was about a year earlier. And first, materiality for the audit financial statements here is €1 million, because it was a euro company. Okay? What does materiality mean? Means this is right within the boundaries of materiality. If the error is larger than $1 million, it's bad. If the error is smaller than $1 million, it's okay. And if everything else fails, typically people use materiality threshold to be 5% of net income. So if, I can't exactly say, but if the income of IBM is net income of IBM, meaning sales minus costs, minus the other stuff, is $10 billion, which is not unheard for IBM, you can make an error of $500 million, and it's okay. It's a pretty loose threshold, but when you are doing this, it doesn't look that loose. Okay, for large companies, the numbers are obscene. So now, actually, this is a different story, and that's what's interesting. It's a very, very different story. Why is it a different story? Because this company is not, at least now, picking up 50 items to examine. They have 725,000 items. By the way, it's not very big. We have the records here for credit cards for Itaú Bank, and there are 40 million accounts that are active. There are $70 million accounts, 70 million accounts, but there are only 40 million that are active. And the active accounts in the credit card trade between 5 and 10 transactions a month. To make our life easier, let's say 5. So we finish out that Itaú has 200 million transactions a month for credit cards, without counting all the other business. So it's huge. We actually think Itaú's general ledger has about 800, how to say, make this estimate, but around 800 million transactions a month. That's bigger, correct? Bigger than 720. But however, it's pretty big. Okay, so now this is what's different in the store. They ran this thing to a computer program, and they found that 2.3% of the transactions had the difference in quantity, and 1.7 had the difference in price. If I would ask this to Maria Helena, she would say, it's not very big. Not very big. However, if you just add this amount here, is 5,250,000. That's much bigger than 1 million. So it could be material. So, what do you do next? What you do next is, according to the standards, you're supposed to follow up your transactions. But here you only have this kind of how many were quantity, how many price, you know which ones were. Okay, a computer can do it in 1 second. Okay, but the whole scenario changed, and we have to start thinking about how to use analytics in large populations. Remember, I was showing you big data. This is just the first step of big data in there, and you have a dilemma. The standards actually tell you that any exceptions you find have to be followed up. Just imagine following up 34,000 transactions. You and your entire team will be there for 2 years or 3 years doing this. So, you know, you had a service and a disservice. Computers gave you, computers took it away. Now, what are you going to do with this? Forget about this whole thing. Don't tell anyone and go and take a small sample. You think you're kidding? You are very serious. And that's exactly what the problem is. There is this expression, every time you get an exception. So what are we calling these things now? Notable items, not exceptions anymore. Because an auditor sees the word exception, his eyes go red and he starts foaming to the mouth. Because he has to follow it up. Okay. Now, thinking the reverse way, that is not the way they think about today, is now you know much more about this population than you would have done any time in the past. You have found out that 691,000 at a value of 120 million pounds are accurate in quantity and price. Now you have a little dilemma here. You know much more for this, but you have this problem of 34,000 transactions. Do you understand the problem? And I think what you said is correct. This is a big deterrent to use analytical methods. Because if then the PCAOB comes and examines you, you didn't follow up on your exceptions. Now, de facto, if you start looking at these things, very often a quantity difference is the following. Client ordered 1,000 elements or something. You only had 600 to deliver. So you have to deliver 600, and later on you deliver the other 400. So it's very, very common they have split quantities. Or you delivered some and some broke, and you change the delivery invoice because you couldn't deliver them all correctly. Or you miscounted or something like that. So it's very common to have that. The other thing that's reasonably common is pricing differences. You gave a discount to the client, but the table says something different. Or the opposite. Okay, and especially with the client, because if you rush it, you charge more. So, now I'm going to tell you the worst story. I did discuss this at the PCAOB SAG because I afraid I'd be attacked. But what do you think this causes? Causes what he was saying. First thing, causes the problem that you really don't want to do this. Because you find exceptions, you have to follow a lot. That's one very serious problem. The other problem is you use analytic methods. Listen to this. You use analytic methods, let's say clustering, okay, and you find material error. Okay, no problem this year, because you go to the client, say this is wrong, fix it. The client fixes it, the report comes out correct or reasonable. So that's okay. That's not the problem. The problem is you improve your methodology. You're capable to detect things that you didn't detect before. So what happened the year before? Somebody says, oh, I can see what happens the year before. Is most likely because you didn't use this method. You had a material misstatement that you didn't detect. And the year before too. Now what happens to you when that happens? You get sued, you lose your job, take big damages, etc. So maybe you don't want to do these advanced analytics because it's too risky. So it's kind of a double bind. This is kind of two things that make your life pretty miserable with the current standards. Something needs to be done. I will tell you a little bit what I suggested and what we are going to suggest together. eventually. And now this is actually, you won't know our project, that one of our 3 projects with radar. This is the MATS project. It used to be called Exceptional Exceptions. This was the dissertation of Professor Hussein-Easter. I ever get him on this campus, I'm going to ask him to come and tell you about exceptions. He's very charming, very lovely, very good people. Okay? But we actually had 2 dissertations on this. One was Youngbaum Kim's dissertation, and he did this Rfid Chapter, but he didn't call it that way, and didn't do such elaborate thing as Hussein did, and then Hussein did. And now this is Professor Wong No's project, and what he's basically doing is the same thing that I was showing you in that chart. And I think I just will show this chart. So this is your 725,000 transactions. Okay? And then you do the filter for price and quantity errors. And so we don't call them exceptions because audit was formed, correct? What are we going to call them? Call them notable items. And then on top of the notable items, we exert a procedure to choose the ones that are worthwhile examining. So it's a pretty simple idea. Between the idea and the standards become very complicated. And this is the multidimensional audit data selection. And we apply filtering techniques and come up with exceptions. So what did we do? We did, this was 725,000. This was 34,000. And now we pulled out the things that are worth examining. Now remember, we looked at the whole population. So we are reasonably sure that for price and quantity, we caught everything. This is not, we pull 1 out of 10,000 and let's see if we are unlucky or lucky. Okay, so it's pretty good. And actually, when I hear, for example, the guy who was chair of our radar effort was a guy called Mike Leonard, and he's a partner, the head of analytics at ENY currently. And he says the problem with what exists today is that you don't get the credit, evidential credit, for having examined 95% of the population that was correct. You just get punished for the exceptions. So there has to be a way to say, I know much more here of this population when I'm here than I ever would know with the traditional method. So I'm doing a much better audit. Audit quality went up. That's what we talk about. Audit quality. And so these are the exceptions. And then within the exceptions, you create a criteria of what's more important. Typically, the more important thing is the bigger value. The people at Itaú always tell us, nothing below 5,000 reais is worth looking. At that time, it was like $3,000. Yeah, that's totally okay. Meaning, it's there because it's not an internal audit, they can do whatever they want. But do you understand the problem here? The problem is that now that you have computers, you have better ways to examine the entire population. And the standards are from 40 years ago, 100 years ago, whatever. And they make you do something that made sense with manual methods, make no sense absolutely today. And so that's the MATS project. And etc. Now, we actually have been developing a new method. And this new method is called process mining. And this is actually developed by professors of industrial engineering in Holland, in the Netherlands. And they are not industrial auditing. What they have been doing is trying to understand how transactions flow within an ERP, within SAP or Oracle, and etc., for the purpose of improving production engineering. And it's tremendously interesting because you can apply this for auditing. We published last year a paper, was the first paper in auditing about this in the best accounting journal, arguing that auditing should be using this thing. Now, I'll give you a very brief explanation. ERPs like SAP, I last time mentioned what the ERP was. I'm going to just repeat it because I know memories are short. Okay, an ERP is a computer system with a database in the middle and all the applications of the firm around it. So payrolls, accounts receivable, accounts payable, etc. here. So they use the same data and they perform the function. And most of the companies, and many of you worked before, most of the companies have ERPs in place today. And the classic ones that they use today is SAP and Oracle. Now, the ERPs have a thing called log. And every time a transaction goes to an element, it creates a log. In old days, when you pulled your sample, you would go to the file cabinet and pick up the document of a particular transaction and look at a thing called the routing sheet or the routing table. What does it mean? This transaction was begun by Sue, and then he passed it to Wendy, who passed it to Shu, who approved it. And then she delivered. So you know the dates and the time things happen. And if something weird happened there, you would look at the document. But you would do that for 50 transactions max. Okay, so this is, any old auditor will remember going through the routing sheet. Okay, now with the logs, you can go to this transaction here and find out every single transaction, who did it, what, and what time. That's the information you have. The amount, the routing, and each step of the routing, who approved it at what time. We actually found some incredible things. This is actually Tiffany's dissertation, and I think she'll come here and talk to you a little bit about process mining. I want you guys to be leading edge. And I think process mining is going to change all. But what Tiffany found, with our paper, we only examined this bank's purchasing process and behaved like we expected. What we didn't realize, we thought that like 5 types of routes would explain 85% of the variance. Meaning, no, you go in here, you don't approve that this is the correct one, this is okay, etc. What actually Tiffany found is 960 variants, 906 routes that they think, 960 routes that they think that someone took in a population around 60,000. And some of those routings are totally okay, those 85%. Some of them are clearly irregular. And the rest is kind of in the middle. And just by, without looking at amounts and etc., just by looking at the routing, you know a lot more about the transaction than in traditional methods you would look. Very interesting, and now we're trying to kind of build this to understand better. We are creating this thing that I mentioned to you earlier, suspicion functions. And the suspicion score, the SS, is basically a set of variables that we add together, and if it's 1, it's very, very, very suspicious transaction. If it's 0, it's okay. It's totally okay. And then somewhere in the middle, you have to decide what you want to examine. And I will teach you more about suspicion functions. I don't want to confuse you at this moment. Okay, but do you understand what the process mining is? Let me repeat. You pick up the logs of an SAP, and you look at every transaction, what routing they do. And some routes are totally okay, some routes are not so okay. And the things in the middle, we need to figure out what to do. Okay? And what we are doing now is we are trying to get some audit experts that have looked at internal controls very often to tell us which routes are good, which routes are not so good, and which ones in the middle. If we use that as audit evidence and some other things that we use, we make it even better. So that's the current thought in process mining. You understand now? It's basically you look at the route. Oh, and I'll tell you another couple of interesting. We found some transactions that have been in here for like 3 years. Go and come back, go and come back, go and come back, never finish. And so I always say about process mining is that it's not only great as an audit tool, but it's even better for process engineering, for telling the company. You know, when you are auditing the company, you also give points to management. Say, we should look at this, improve that. Good, also points of auditing need to be fixed. And so it gives you the ability to much better understand how accounts payable is working, how receivable is working, how payroll is working, and et cetera, et cetera. It's a powerful tool. I think this is probably something that's going to go into accounting, traditional accounting methods, 5 or 10 years, very fast. Okay, and this is actually examples of analysis you do out of that routing. So we did a social network, who sent transactions to whom, and we found 742 cases out of around 60,000 that were not signed. Or, for example, you originate and you approve. That's separation of duties. In theory, most controls are, if she originates, she cannot approve her own transaction. She has to approve. And so there was two signature twice, in origination and approval. It's pretty cool finding it. And you can do this totally automatically if you're looking for it. I have a PhD student, it's not Tiffany, Tiffany will be done recently soon, Abdurrahman, and what he's trying to do is a continuous process mining audit. So what he's trying to do is he creates rules that if a transaction is very extremely screwed up, you stop. And so a method of continuously monitoring, and some people say this is not audit, this is monitoring. I don't want to argue terminology, but that's up to a manifestation. How about this one here? This is 175 cases that 3 individuals together violated separation of duties. Okay, and so this is just an idea of analysis you can do with process mining. And finally, the third project, you're going to find it kind of pedestrian. Okay, it's using visualization in audit. Now, all firms use visualization, but typically they use visualization by just showing the results to the client. It's really that pretty pictures that we show to the client at the end. But the analytic part of using visualization to understand your data is not being used. We actually had PhD student faculty here doing together with Andrea, correct? You were part of that survey.
Yes.
And looking at what the 8 firms we are working doing. And they haven't done, they are not doing a lot of visualization as analytical visualization.
No, they're mainly applying it for risk assessment.
Yeah. So this is the third project. I actually am going to show you eventually some visualization that we are developing and we have done. In that 4th circle, which is the test of details, the standard says scan the data. And when you think scanning, you think about scanners. No, scanning the data from auditing, looking at the data. Okay? And human ability to identify errors by scanning the data. First, can you imagine yourself scanning 725,000 records. So it's not, it's on a sample base, and etc. But it's actually an interesting question here is what can human minds do in terms of error verification and scanning? So there are three things we identified that are very difficult to do with a human mind. Okay, and of course there are many others, but this is what we have. The first one is we call dynamic analysis of data. What is dynamic analysis of data? Is look what happened with an account or even one piece of data across time. Because you would have to be looking at different year records. Now, what can dynamic analysis data do for you? This particular company, this particular subsidiary, this particular product, sales were going like this and they're not like this. Or the opposite, went like this, and boom. And they're going back. What will you think of it? Boom! Is either one massive purchase or an error, more likely an error. But you wouldn't get that unless you do dynamic analysis of data. I'm going to show you pretty soon Hans Rosling's videos. And this guy is a population specialist from Sweden. And he talks on the TED Talks. You know what the TED Talks are? Yeah, and he is spectacular what he does. He developed a software called Gapminder. And it's very pedestrian, very simple. But basically what the thing does is go year after year and follows on a process of picture here, picture here, picture, and does a little film of the change. So he looks at wealth of populations, number of children, concentration of wealth, net income, and he saw how the world has changed over the years. China done great. China, number of children reduced, average income expanded. China was down here, is now above everyone, most of the other ones. And that's a very surprise. Korea had all this war. Actually, Korea did well after the Second World War, after the Korean War, in average income. So I will show you the Hans Rosling video, not because I think you're that interested in population, it's because the power of dynamic analysis of data. And I expect all of you to be doing that dynamic analysis of data when you go to work for PwC. Just joking, but not really. Okay, and actually this is what's going to happen is I hope you are agents of change and know to do things that other people don't know. And so one thing is kind of this that dynamic analysis of data. One. What is number two? Number two is multidimensional analysis of data. You have, we have an example here that I also will show you some other day, that you put a graph here and the data looks pretty much a straight line. Sounds great, correct? There is not a lot of exceptions here. It's well done and etc. However, you put a third dimension into here and rotate the data. You see these big outliers in the back. But they are kind of covered here because they're exactly this line. That's another thing you can't do with your mind. Is you can't look at several dimensions in one thing. Right? Very nicely, one of our students here did a Python model, and it's really gorgeous. You will see. The third thing is extracting models out of functions. So you have here, you have these curves, you put a straight line here. What you can do is just pull out the lines and put it in one graph. That's going to look something like this. Much better to be looked, much better understanding, and sometimes the business model is an equation. Like, for example, it should be linear with the size of the company and the insurance premiums. We actually did that with an insurance company, and what we found is that there was this cluster of things that were priced substantially below where they should be priced. according to the company's model. And we didn't pick it up unless we did this clustering examination and the outlier examination. Turned out that all those insurers, the first explanation we got was, oh, this is a special deal that we give sometimes a discount to the client. We actually found, we put a third dimension on this, geography, and we found them all came from a particular region of the country. So we pretty much were sure that there was collusion between the salesman and the client. The salesman was getting some money on his pocket, or at least we thought that maybe, or maybe he was just trying to get a lot of sales points. But very powerful, the idea of visualization. And this is actually also an insurance example. And what we actually did this was one insurance with typically death benefits, and then they have health benefits, and then have maybe burial benefits. There are 4 types of benefits. And together they don't tell a story. And so this kind of coverage here gives us basically the straight line, and look at these guys outside. This particularly, this is kind of weird, is a value paid and 0 insurance. 0 coverage. Would anyone pay money for 0 coverage? Okay, and you look at this, in this particular insurance, it's all over the map. So the aggregate insurance was reasonably linear, except for the information thing that I told you, but you decompose it into the composing premiums. Look what you found. Those ones and this one. This one was all over the map, and I think this was explainable. This one was pretty reasonable. And by the way, the reason I did it this way to the PCAOB is I wanted to show you can do this analysis with Excel. I can do this much more gorgeous with Tableau, Spotify. We do have a lot of Tableau. Yeah.
And so
Excel can handle a million lines of data these days. It can. Do I suggest you to do with Excel? No way. It's clumsy, it's ugly, etc., etc. You know, Tableau is a great tool. Many schools are now teaching Tableau, not in auditing, they are teaching it in basic statistics. But Tableau is great and it's free for students. You can download Tableau and learn it. And by the way, the best way to learn Tableau is look at their videos. They have some spectacular videos. And there are a couple of data sets that they have there that you can just practice with it. They're very nice. Okay, so this was kind of a discussion that we said, you know, what's next things happening? And I'm going to go from top to the top. Continuous control monitoring is this technology we did in continuous auditing, which is looking if controls haven't been changed. Okay, and I'm going to talk about these equations. These are representing data of the firm equations. We talked enough about evidence from big data already. And I mentioned the other data center. These actually are the 2 technologies. They added, I didn't put them in because I said this I can't do it, but they have heard about it. So basically blockchain. And oh, by the way, Andrea will be teaching you blockchain. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So you're going to hear much more about blockchain, and you'll be, when you go and interview the firms, you'll be experts in blockchain. Enough to, certainly more experts than the interviewer. Okay, and this whole idea of application as applied to all. So these are kind of the future according to my clean version by the SAC. Okay, and finally, you know, you already asked many of these questions. So I'm going to address a few of them. Where in the audit of historical financial statements are these methods to be used? This is the discussion that we have in the 4 circles in the beginning. Is this a risk assessment technique? Is this a substantive testing technique? Internal control technique? And the answer, I think, that Bob Law did, and I agree with him, is that we use them across. And that breakdown is not so clear anymore with big data and analytics. I also think that you can't really do these point in time. You have to do them as a continuous monitoring and audit process. So that's first thing. And also the next thing, this is actually very, very interesting. The PCAOB has an agenda of things that they are going to examine. They call it research studies, and now the idea is that research study leads to a change in standards. And we have been reasonably successful. I don't take credit for it, but we have convinced the PCAOB to create an analytics project. So they have this second project, analytics project. So they are looking at the effect of analytics. I'd be very surprised if within a year or two something doesn't change in those diagrams. The dilemmas that I described. But in those projects, there is a project that they talk about non-GAAP information. What is GAAP? Generally accepted auditing accounting principles. FASB prescribes GAAP. But what's happening is that companies are disclosing ratios and things typically relative to that industry that are not part of GAAP standards. Why? And you heard me talk a little bit about that, is that the financial statements are getting kind of obsolete. And you need more information to explain the business. You need non-financial information to the business. And so, the PCAOB started a project on non-GAAP items. And I think that will force the FASB to look at that. I know this is a little complicated for you, but we'll get back to that. And this is actually the thing that we are most interested in at this particular moment. Is I don't think, and I think many people agree with me, that you can just kind of change the rules and put analytics in the auditing standards. What we need to do is an experimentation period where a few audits are forgiven, given safe harbor of the rules. So if the inspectors of the PCAOB come in, you say you didn't follow this rule, say, I am exempted from this because I'm in this experimentation period. So what we are suggesting is that a few audits be a client, an auditor agree to participate on this, and then a regulator supervises, so give safe harbor, and then someone that knows how to do the analytics helps them. And we have been doing some good progress with Canada and with Australia. We still haven't gone very far with the PCAOB. But that's what we are going to be arguing at the TIOB meeting, and that's what we are going to do. I think we're pretty sure that we're going to start a project in Canada. We have a firm and we have a client, and we have the Canadian Institute, I think, supporting it. And these things, until they happen, we don't do it.
So for all analytics, are you writing a piece of code that goes through all of the data at one time, or are you using
Clustering is one of the many techniques we use. And clustering is especially good for outlier detection, multi-dimensional outlier detection, called multi-dimensional clustering. That was Sudhakar's dissertation about 10 years ago, 8 years ago here. But the methodology is not going to be like you only drive a truck. You're going to drive a truck, you're going to drive a Volkswagen, you're going to drive an airplane. And those things have to work together. So we are not, we don't think that the rules are going to be in that direction. I think the rules are going to do is they're going to relax the requirement to go after exceptions. They're going to allow some kind of prioritization exception. That's why we have that project, because it's not analytically very challenging. It's just a very important thing for them. The firms are not paying too much attention to the other thing. They're paying a lot of attention to the project for prioritization exception, because that will affect the need. But this is the most important thing of that. And okay, this is actually a motivator, is if your budget is designed to exactly 50 in a sample, how can you follow up 34,000? So there are economic limitations, and we kind of left unsaid the other part of the story, which is the part of the story of if you find something, maybe the year before had it there. So we left that unsaid, there is no need to say, but that's kind of an economic limitation. And then these two, and look at it, you already asked me this. Remember you asked me, are we trained adequately for this new world? And you looked awfully sad. I said, no. But actually, the answer for you is better. You are better trained than most people. And then the other thing is actually what he was asking here is, how can you create software to do some of this stuff? I call it device competencies, but maybe that's a bad word. But there'll be a lot of software to be done. We actually have the annual conference here in November, and it's called the Continuous Auditing Symposium. And this year will be number 40. And the Continuous Auditing Symposium is these days sponsored by ACL and Caseware ID. And the 4 firms, and some internal audit departments, and the ICPA, a lot of people sponsor this conference. And you are going to be very busy with your classes, but you are welcome to come if you want. We have these overflow rooms and you can attend. But in that conference, we work very carefully with ACL and IDEA. They actually create a lot of products out of our work. The method we work is we develop the ideas that anyone who wants patented to their own specific spec. We won't publish. That's what we regularly do. And this is, of course, the regulation type of issue. I just wanted to show you something. Okay, so this is, you know how to find me. You have the slides, and then make sure that she does the slides. These are actually hyperlinks to the videos of the analytics course. You actually will use some of these for your own analytics course in January to March. Okay, but if you're in a hurry or you want to look at things specifically, you go on these. The other easy way to do is you go YouTube, audit analytics, and they'll be all there, and they are basically hours. We have maybe 80 to 100 hours of videos on analytics there. And then, of course, we're very good. If you learn some Tableau, you learn some ACL, you learn some idea, etc., etc., etc. I usually have another slide, I don't have it here, and it's a hyperlink to an article we published in the Journal of Accountancy, that's AICPA journal last year, talking about the skills of the auditor in the future. And I think that I kind of, if I had to write that article now, I wouldn't have written what I wrote there. You know, you learn. And basically there we are saying the auditor has to be a superwoman or superman. You have to know everything. And I don't think that anymore. I think that, you know, Jun will witness to this. Paul Burns, one of our PhD students last year, wrote a dissertation, and it was a clustering, which you're asking. But it was what we call a super app, not an app. And what is a super app in our definition? Is an app that has statistical knowledge in it. So after he did the statistics in clustering, it used some statistical knowledge to interpret what we got. And I think what's going to happen in your generation is that people will be selling this glass. I even think that there are already a couple of them from Israel that are powerful.
Yes, and they also have some explanations, but they're still very simple, like filtering and etching. But they still have some explanation on like what the app is doing. So kind of similar.
Yeah, here's where Jun found like firms selling apps, Caseware selling apps, and then a couple of other companies. Yeah. So this thing of apps, and that's her third essay on her dissertation, the only unpublished yet. Soon, correct? But I think that will be our world. Our world is going to be a world of using apps in different parts of the audit, and those apps are going to get increasingly sophisticated. One detail to finish up is that I said I was going to talk later, is here is your company's systems. Here is your audit software, your audit behavior. Problem of this is that for each one of the data that you use, you have to create extraction script. You have to extract the data you want. So the AICPA created the audit data standard. And that is to prescribe to the companies the 5 cycles we have in the base cycle, what data is needed for audit. And to suggest companies to always have the data available for their auditors, which would allow these vendors of apps to have one common data source, therefore drag and drop will happen. Drag and drop is very important. Very important, because there are 85%, not 15%, of people that don't really know how to use a computer and should be using the computer for the auditing engagement. Not all of them, there are things from governments, etc., that you can't use a computer, at least not now. But drag and drop is very important. So the audit data standard is very, very important, although it has not been, we just finished the standard about 6 months ago and haven't seen any adoption. So we are going to try to convince the PCAOB, try to convince the PIOB that for public good, audit data standards should be pushed. And this is a word you don't dare to mention at the AICPA, should be required, particularly with the current president and his feelings about regulation. No smiles here. Okay, but I have said it many times at the AICPA, I think these things should be required. The AICPA has no authority to force it, but they have a lot of moral suasion. And so we actually think that probably the most useful thing that we could do for audit of the future is audit data standards. Okay, guys, 5:15, we got 5 minutes off, okay? And did you all give Andrea your issue that you're going to discuss? Yes,
I just approved you. I just approved you.
Okay. And anyone with difficulties, try to save Andrea until Monday and Tuesday. We actually have a visiting PA next Tuesday, next Monday, but Andrea will be back. We are not using her.